I remember when I was younger, like, because I so desperately, I've talked about this before, wanted to be in a relationship and went for people that were just not right at all for me. However, I would force it so much into existence. And I remember going to see a psychic like afterwards, but why did he break up with me? I'm going to meet someone else. Like, but he loves me, doesn't he? He's going to get back together with me, and trying to like shake her to give me the answer that I wanted. But I knew it before it was coming. I knew that they were rat bags or that they weren't right for me. And I think you hit the nail like on the coffin, so to speak. But you do know. And I guess it's like actually being able to address it before it happens and trust that awareness that you have. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Relationship Done Different podcast. Today, you are joined by myself, Justine McKell, and the wonderful, beautiful Melanie Mead, all the way from Ireland. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's so funny when we record these podcasts, relationships done different can be a little bit of a mouthful.
I know. I was like, is it relationships, relationship? Like, yeah. And we were talking about what we wanted to talk about today. And, in relationships, like there's always that line that someone says, either yourself or someone else, we need to talk. Now, like, what does that mean? It's like the most dreaded sentence if you hear your partner or your boyfriend saying that, and you're like, oh no, what are they going to talk about? And usually after that follows, it's time to part ways, or there's a breakup. And like when you hear the word breakups, you're like, oh my God, this, so messy and dramatic. But what we've seen with Simone and Brendan and working with them with Relationships Done Different and their brand and their book is that like relationship breakups don't have to be messy. And I guess that's what we wanted to cover today. And starting off, like, have you had breakups yourself? Like, have they?
I think we all have. I even think at this stage, and you might know this too as a mother, that even our children, they get married when they're 5 and they've about 3 husbands. So we've been in all kinds of breakups, I'm sure, over the years. But yeah, and not even just relationships. That feeling you get before a natural ending of something, a job, a friendship, your favorite hobby, or you know what I mean? It's like there's that just that kind of creeps in. And I think what a lot of us are guilty of is really try to keep that, show on the road, because better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Yes, that is so true. And this is what like the guys talk about, like you actually know, but most of us ignore that knowing because either like, I'm going to make it work, like this is fantastic. And, I remember when I was younger, like, because I so desperately, I've talked about this before, wanted to be in a relationship and went for people that were just not right at all for me. However, I would force it so much into existence. And I remember going to see a psychic like afterwards, but why did he break up with me? I'm going to meet someone else. Like, but he loves me, doesn't he? He's going to get back together with me, and trying to like shake her to give me the answer that I wanted. But I knew it before it was coming. I knew that they were rat bags or that they weren't right for me. And I think you hit the nail like on the coffin, so to speak. But you do know. And I guess it's like actually being able to address it before it happens and trust that awareness that you have. And that's kind of what, Simone and Brendan talk about when they were together. Like Simone knew something was kind of a little off. And in the end, it was Brendan who broke up the relationship. But she said, look, we were kind of trying to create this perfect relationship, build the perfect house on the beach, but like deep down she knew that it was time. The time had ended for the relationship.
Yeah, and the line that they use, and that I know she used with Brendan, was, are we done? Have we done everything we've meant to have done together? And I think Brendan's response was like, oh no, we're good. And she was like, oh yeah, we're good. But both of them knew they were done. And that can sound very cold and callous, to be fair, but when you're done with your dinner, you know what I mean, you're done. How often do you try to keep forcing things to occur? I don't know, like out of fear of being lonely, or the mess could be a financial one. Everyone has different situations, but what you're going to be faced with afterwards, or the loneliness, or in our case, we're getting older, you know, we're not young. It's different to meet people when you're older, and, you know, the landscape's always changing. So sometimes we probably overthink, and the safety of what we have kind of trumps the adventure of what would kind of set us alight, that would make us more alive, and inviting people into our lives that are actually, you know, more congruent with where we're looking to go. And that doesn't always promise an easy journey, but definitely a more exciting one.
Yeah, I love your analogy about, you know, when you've done dinner and you've done in your relationship, it's as easy as that. And I guess, you know, we would love to give you some tools as well. Like if you are going through a breakup, like some of the tips that, you know, we share in relationships done different, that it doesn't have to be messy. Like Simone and Brendan right now have got the most beautiful friendship now. They still are in business together. They still talk on the phone every day. So it really defies everything that you hear in the magazines, that you can't be friends with your ex. You must be angry with them. And I think that one of the things that they were given some advice around by Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, was like, okay, well, you know, write on a piece of paper, like, was it the 3 things that you like the most, or you're really grateful about that, or you want to recreate from the relationship?
Yeah, what you'd like to get now. And they both had friendship on the top, you know?
Yeah. And that's what they've been able to do. Like, they created this book with relationship tips in it, and they pretty much used the same tools to uncreate their relationship. And they did it so elegantly. And sure, there were moments where, you know, there was a bit of rage and I can't believe they did this, but they didn't dwell or sit in that. And they moved on very elegantly, and now have the best of friendships. And one thing that Simone says that I just love so much is, you know, just because the relationship is broken up, it doesn't mean that you are broken.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that bit a little bit more and what that means?
Well, yeah, because there's a stigma that comes along with being the person that was left. So in this particular case that we're talking about with Simone and Brendan, like, they had a relationship, was it for 8 years? And people were asking them, you know, how do you do it? So they did this telecall, and then they were like, oh, you know, the tips were amazing. They wrote a book, and then the book, and as you know from behind the scenes, Justine, the book was coming out, and they're like, we're done. And you had to pitch them to media with a book on relationship tools as a freshly broken up couple. Not only that, but I've seen Simone on television, which I have to say is amazing, because they do get asked the really difficult questions that people usually either ask behind your back, or, you know, not on national TV, is who broke up with who. And Brendan broke up with her. But as we said earlier, they both knew a while back that it was done. But there's still the stigma attached to, oh, he's fine, you know, he's done, and she must be kind of heartbroken or left behind. And that can be, you know, that's a stigma. That's something maybe some of us would, you know, worry about, that there's something wrong with us. We might like to think we didn't see it coming, but I think usually when you dig a little deeper and look around, you might have known there was signals you were trying to go along with it. But like, you do look like, you know, like even you were saying, like, why did he leave me? Am I not lovable? You know, is there something wrong with me that this relationship couldn't keep going? And it was like, it was done. The time was up. You can't, you know, it takes 2 to tango. And if 2 of you aren't tangoing, it's not happening. It's time to really, you know, move on.
Yeah, and I think that's the first tip, because I'm actually putting together, Simone's going to be on a TV show talking about this topic about, you know, how do you move on from an ex? How do you break up elegantly? And that's the first one, really know that you're not wrong, and you're not broken at all. It's just that the relationship has broken up. So this is a very different way of looking at breakups. The other thing that I know that she talks a lot about is like the gratitude, like acknowledge that the gift that they were in your life, and also remember the good times together, because naturally we go to, oh my God, he's such an asshole. Like, he used to do this, this, and this, but hang on, like, that was probably a very small moment in time. What about like celebrating all the great stuff that you did together? Because our natural instinct is to go to the worst.
Yeah. And you got together for a reason. You don't just go out picking, okay, so you might not pick the best partners in the world. You know, sometimes we can have a bit of a history with, you know, maybe picking the bad guy and, you know, it's not working out or whatever. But like, you were together for a reason. I'm sure you had some kind of spark and some kind of fun, even if it might have been short and fleeting. There was temporarily something there. You might have taken off, you know, your beer goggles or your rose tinted glasses at some stage. I don't know. You know what I mean? Everyone's different. But at some stage, there was something that did it for you. You know? And, if that's just a fleeting second, or, a couple of months or years of really wonderful things, like, don't erase your history because it didn't work out and you need to move on. Like, we can move on to other relationships and find the one and all these great things, and not have to cling on to the past, but just be grateful for it. We all learn from every circumstance, every interpersonal communication we have, we get something from it. So I think when we go to shut down particular parts, we really are denying. And as well, like, how much are you thinking so poorly of yourself and your choices by putting somebody like that down and feeling it to be the necessary route in order to move on, because that was a choice you made up until now.
Yeah, I think gratitude is like this superpower. It's like this medicine. If you're stuck in something, just try whatever it takes to get to that state of gratitude. Like, and today I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling a bit funky. I really need to write my gratitude list that I've not done for ages. It's such a simple thing, but we forget to do it. I also love the other tip that they talk about, like, give yourself a certain amount to be angry. Like, okay, yeah, but just don't harbor it into the next year, because you see there's people being bitter and twisted in relationships, and really at the end of the day it's only hurting yourself. So I mean, that's another one. And
you got to feel the feels. Like, if it's up, it's up, you know what I mean? Like, it's not to be perfect in life by being zen constantly. I think one of the greatest gifts we can be is to temporarily allow that to show up, because we actually get to look at it, what it is for us. Like, you might be angry at what somebody else did to you, but I think one of the greatest gifts is when you look at you in the situation and your anger and how it's showing up, you actually start to root around, and you might find bad habits, or you might find, maybe you're not being so kind. You might, we can come up with a million different scenarios, but really allowing it and enjoying it. I think sometimes we do the half angry rather than the full, and then get over it. Do you know what I mean? And that's where the harboring comes in, because we're trying to cling on to everything for what it's worth, rather than going, I'm pissed today, I don't like him. And then you're just like, whatever. And then and that's what I love about the classes. That's what I love about the books and the tools. You process it, you take a look at it, and you might just need to slightly shift your perspective, but allow yourself to have it and not try to find the right perspective, because you haven't fully processed. Sometimes we don't know till the anger or the upset or whatever it is shows up, what is actually up in our worlds, until we're willing to look at it.
Yeah, I love that. And then, I mean, another big thing is, like, that I heard Simone talk about recently, is like making sure that you go out there and do something that you would love to do. So don't stop creating your life just because you're not with that person. So if it was like maybe going skiing or snowboarding and they were a big part of that, like, go book a holiday. I think Simone did that in Italy with her friends to go skiing. So don't stop what you love doing, and actually use this time, like use this breakup as a time to reevaluate your life and go, actually, what is it I really want? Do you really want one? So
I know.
back to the very beginning.
But that is true. It is like, you create a life with someone. You could have puppies and, I don't know, like hobbies together and apart. But when that is no more, what would you like to create now? You can still keep, like you were saying, you still keep skiing or whatever, or is there something else out there? Were you choosing it because that's what they wanted?
Yeah. And I know one of the most powerful things, before, we've given you a few tips to wrap it up before, on this breakup tips call, is asking questions. And you are the master of asking questions. Like, what is one question if you're really stuck in the bitterness or the anger, or you're wanting to move on from your ex? Like, what could be a question you could ask daily?
Let me see.
Sorry, did I put you on the spot?
Do you know what? Like, my brain goes to like 100 different circumstances. It's like, if I was angry with someone, I would probably ask, and I'm not sure if you need to put this in context when I say it, but just picture that I got annoyed and I was enraged. I would actually ask, what is it? Like, what is that anger? Like, this isn't the question I would ask, but like, why am I hanging on to it? Like, what is this? And then dig a little deeper. And one of the tools that is, what is it? What can I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how? And that's one way to process through what shows up, purely because a lot of the things that show up are inexplicable, and we try to attach a meaning. I'm angry because he's a terrible person, or he did this to me. Nobody can do anything to you. You are not responsible, nor are you the trigger, like the reason that they do it. They do it because they do it. And what you got to do is you got to sit down and look at it and really look at what is actually up for you. And we can blame everyone till the cows come home, but you know yourself, it doesn't really create a lot in the world. So what I do, my first question always is, what is it? And what can I do with it? Can I change it? And if so, how? And there's loads of other tools. We're never stuck to one set of tools, but that one would be good if it's like a sudden thing that's going on, or you find yourself in a rant or going down a rabbit hole, because you're trying to find reasons and stuff from your perspective, but you are you. Nobody thinks like you. Nobody has the awarenesses you have. And the same with them. And you're trying to preempt or kind of mold this like a little scenario just so it'll make sense to you. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of life doesn't make sense. So you got yourself, and you can process it. And one of the greatest gifts that I find is when you handle your shit, the world will naturally change around you, like as if by magic. Greater things will show up the more you're willing to really, and not beat yourself up and look at why you're wrong or why relationships aren't working, but just really look at what's true for you. And step into being more, and not like, trying to make yourself into something so you can have a successful relationship or find a man or not have them break up with you. So I think that's probably one of the better, like one of my top overall-y kind of tools to look at, because it does kind of get you out of that rabbit hole. It puts you in the driver's seat and actually gets you to look at the choice that you can make, because you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. You're the one in complete control of your life. Sit in that driver's seat, stare at shit's going to happen. It's all good. We've got tools and books, classes that can help you. You never have to do it alone, but just really, give yourself a break as well. Like, don't beat yourself up about it. And the last one that I just sneak in a little other tool is to enjoy it. If you're going to get angry, or if you're going to cry, just go full, all in. Don't go, oh no, I'm so angry, it's wrong. Just go, I am so angry today. Because when you kind of turn it up, it kind of gets funny, because then you realize sometimes, not necessarily that it's ridiculous, but you kind of go, I can't spend the rest of my life like this. You allow it out and you can just move on. Do you know what I mean? So I give it a couple there in one go.
How does it get any better than this?
In the good or
bad times. That's a go-to question, because questions are so powerful. They really do. Like, if you take anything out of these tools and access consciousness, it's just asking a question. It really is. And knowing that the universe always has your back and things always turn out for the better. Like, if you're in the middle of it, I know it doesn't seem like that, but it always does. It always works out for the better. So yes, truly. So thank you for joining us for another quick relationship done different podcast. If you
breakup special.
You can follow us on Instagram, Relationships Done Different. Same with Facebook. We put up all the tools and classes around the world, so you can keep up to date with us then. Until next time, have a great relationship. Creationship.
That's it. Bye.